Now, out of all of the 18 plus LEGO Star Wars sub-themes, which quite frankly I think there are too many, I think that Midi-Scale or the Starship Collection, whatever you want to call it, is probably the best one. And I've had this video idea planned for a long time, but I'm just now getting around to it. But today we're going to be ranking every LEGO Star Wars Midi-Scale set, or Starship Collection set, again, whatever you want to call it. I have a total of 12 sets to get through, so starting off all the way back at the number 12 spot, the worst Midi-Scale set by far, in my opinion, is 75406 Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle from 2025. And I dislike this set for a number of reasons. There's a bunch of stuff that's wrong with it. The main issue, to me at least, is the wing design. The wings are connected by just simple hinge pieces. There's no Technic system or anything, just simple hinge pieces. So because of that, they're super flimsy because the wings themselves are fairly heavy, and the hinges just aren't strong enough to hold them. There's even times when the wings themselves literally fall open on their own because the hinges aren't strong enough to hold them. And then on top of that, since the hinges are so weak, the wings also sag over time if you leave them displayed open for too long. And I just think for a $70 set, which is another problem, it's overpriced, having wings with that poor of a design is just kind of ridiculous. The list goes on though. On top of that, the cockpit is also poorly designed. It's too narrow. If you look here, the front is only 2 studs wide, and I think it should be about 3 or 4 studs wide to overall capture the look of Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle better. I know to some of you guys that might sound like a nitpick, but since this set has a premium price of $70 and it's also targeted towards adults, I think I'm allowed to nitpick little things like that. So yeah, this set has a laundry list of problems, but the main 3 are that it's overpriced, the wings are weak, and the cockpit is not accurate. And out of all the sets on this list, I would consider this one to be the only one that's actually truly bad. Up next at the 11th spot, I had the first ever Midi-Scale set ever made, that being 7778 Midi-Scale Millennium Falcon from 2009. And the reason I have it at the second to last spot on the list is just simply because it's outdated. For 2009 standards, it's definitely not a bad set. I mean, it looks pretty solid, it resembles the Millennium Falcon and has a fair amount of detail. It's just that today in 2026, its age is really showing, and then that was especially evident when the newer one came out in 2024 that you'll see later on in this list. So again, not a bad set. I have no problems with it at all. It's just simply outdated compared to the rest. Making our way into the top 10, at the number 10 spot, I have 75440 AT-AT from this year 2026. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a set I was really looking forward to, but when I actually got it, or at least saw pictures of it for the first time, it kind of disappointed me. First of all, I had been wanting LEGO to make a Midi-Scale AT-AT for a long time, or at least just a Midi-Scale ground vehicle in general. So when rumors started surfacing that it was actually going to happen, I got really excited, but then when it ended up being this, I was pretty disappointed because I just don't think they executed it in the best way possible. The main problem with it is that the proportions are just kind of out of whack, which you know for an 18 plus display piece is not a good look. And I think the reason the proportions are out of whack is because the set overall is just a little bit too small. I think if it was bigger, they would have had more room to make the proportions more accurate. Now, I mean, I don't think it looks bad. Actually, I think it kind of has like a cartoonish look that I actually appreciate a little bit. But in regards to these Midi-Scale sets, which are supposed to be accurate display pieces, I don't think they did the best job. And then on top of that, it's overpriced. I mean, $65 is just ridiculous. Up next at the number 9 spot, I have another older Midi-Scale set, that being 8099 Midi-Scale Imperial Star Destroyer from 2010. And like the Millennium Falcon I just talked about, this set is also outdated, which is the reason it's towards the back of the list. However, I mean, it's a Star Destroyer, so I personally think it just looks a little bit cooler than the Millennium Falcon, so that's why I put it a few spots higher. That still doesn't mean its age doesn't show though. I mean, this is clearly an older looking set, which now that I think about it, it's actually really surprising this set hasn't been remade. When LEGO initially brought this sub-theme back in 2023, you'd think that a Star Destroyer would be among one of the first on their list of sets to remake, but no, we are 3 years into this sub-theme returning, and they have still not remade a Star Destroyer yet, which again, now that I think about it, it's just kind of wild. Up next at the number 8 spot, I have 75405 Home One Star Cruiser from 2025. And this set isn't necessarily anything special, however, it's definitely one that I enjoy quite a bit, and the main reason is because, well, a lot of you guys know this already, but I'm just a big fan of the Home One and just Mon Calamari Star Cruisers in general, and I've wanted a playset version for a long time, and while this isn't a playset version, it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it just simply looks cool. It's an underrated ship, and this is an underrated set. And I mean, it's definitely not the most visually appealing set on this list, nor the most iconic, that's why I didn't put it too high up, but I still personally like it just because I like Mon Calamari Star Cruisers in general. Up next at the number 7 spot, this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I have 75441 Venator class attack cruiser from this year 2026. And I really wish I could put this set higher up on this list, but I'm not, because this set quite frankly disappointed me quite a bit. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's terrible. I put it at the number 7th spot overall. I think it's better than all the sets I've talked about so far. But when I actually first saw pictures of this thing and then got it for myself, I was very underwhelmed. First of all, for $80, it is very, very small. I mean, when the rumor for this thing first surfaced and I saw that it was going to be $80, I was literally expecting it to be close to the same size as the Executor. However, as you can see here, the Executor is way bigger and absolutely dwarfs it, and it's actually $10 cheaper at $70. And I mean, I am aware that the reason it is this small is so that it can pair with the invisible hand and be to scale with it. However, that doesn't justify an $80 price point. I honestly think this set should be really no more than 60 or 65 at most, but 80 is just absolutely insane. And if you want to hear me rant more about this, you can go watch my review of the set. But then on top of it being overpriced, the model also just doesn't look as good as I was expecting it to. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I feel like for $80 and especially a display piece, the detail is lacking in some areas, especially on the front half. I think they could have done some more greebling up there. And then on top of that, I wish it was a little bit flatter or thinner, so to say. It doesn't quite capture, you know, the sleekness of a Venator. And this might sound like a nitpick, but like I said with the Kylo Ren's command shuttle, these are sets marketed towards adults as display pieces and have premium prices. So I think it's completely valid to point out things like this. So yeah, overall, I was just disappointed with this set. It doesn't look as good as it needs to, and it's also overpriced. And I mean, it's good enough to be at the number 7 spot, but not good enough to be any higher. And it's kind of frustrating because I wish I could put this set in like the top 3 or something. Anyways though, up next to the number 6 spot, this is definitely going to be controversial, but I have 75376 Tantive IV from 2024. And the reason I say this is probably going to be controversial is because I know a lot of you guys are not going to like to see this set above the Venator. And I'm not going to lie, as I was making this ranking, I was literally holding both of these sets, that being this Tantive and the Venator, in my hands. And as I was holding them, I was like, dang, this Tantive really is a lot more visually appealing and intriguing than the Venator is. And while this set definitely isn't perfect, there are some inaccuracies here and there. And also, like the Venator, I do think it is a tad bit overpriced. Definitely not as bad as the Venator. However, it is still more expensive than it needs to be. I just think the model is more intriguing. There's more going on. There's more colors. There's more shaping. There's more detail. There's just simply more to look at. So in my opinion, that makes it a better display piece. Now making our way into the top 5, at the number 5 spot, I have 75404 Acclimator class assault ship from 2025. And this set is like literally the definition of a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Because if you guys remember when the rumor for this set initially surfaced in 2024, it was like, what in the world? We're getting an Acclimator out of all things? It was one of those ships that we all wanted LEGO to make, but at the same time, we all kind of subconsciously knew it probably wasn't going to happen. But then in 2025, it did happen. Well, in Midi-Scale at least. And the set looks great. I mean, I have no complaints with it at all. It's such a cool looking ship. I think the model represents how it appears in the Clone Wars pretty much perfectly. Other than the price maybe being a little bit too high, I genuinely have nothing negative to say about this set. At the number 4 spot, I have a set that's definitely a bit of an outlier compared to the other sets on this list, that being 77904 Nebulon B Frigate from 2020. And if you don't know the lore behind this set, it was initially supposed to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. However, due to COVID-19 at the time, Comic-Con obviously got canceled, so then LEGO just decided to make this set available on their website. However, there were some supply issues with it. It was selling out super quickly, and then on top of that, if I remember correctly, it was also only available for like 10 days, and all of that stuff just caused a lot of controversy about it because it was just really hard to get your hands on it. But despite its obscure background and history, the set itself looks really good. I mean, I just think the Nebulon B Frigate is an awesome ship in general, and I really want LEGO to make a UCS version of it. And if you remember the UCS poll back in 2019, it was on there with the Republic gunship. However, obviously the Republic gunship ended up winning, but what that means is that the ship is technically on the table for LEGO to make it as a UCS set, and I want that to happen so badly because again, it just looks awesome. Even as a Midi-Scale set here, it looks awesome. That's why I put it at the number 4 spot. It's arguably one of the most obscure and intriguing ships in all of Star Wars. But now making our way into the top 3, at the number 3 spots, I have 75377 Invisible Hand from 2024. And when this set first came out, I actually thought it was kind of overrated, but as time has gone on, it's definitely grown on me quite a bit. And looking back, I honestly don't really know why I thought this set was overrated. I guess I was just trying really hard to not ride the hype of the set and like set myself apart or something. I don't really know. But looking back, that was kind of dumb because the set has always been very good. I don't think it's overrated anymore. I think it's fairly rated. I mean, it's the freaking Invisible Hand. It's General Grievous's flagship. It looks awesome. It's very colorful. There's tons of detail crammed into it. And on top of that, the set in general is just kind of rare because LEGO doesn't really make Separatist ships anymore. Moving on to the number 2 spot, I have 75375 Millennium Falcon from 2024. And oh my gosh, this is literally one of the best looking sets made in the last 5 years. When I first initially got this thing and built it, I was so blown away. There is so much detail crammed into this model. It's honestly absurd. And I mean, to be honest, out of all the LEGO Millennium Falcons LEGO has ever made, that being the Playscale ones, the UCS ones, the miniature ones, I think this one is probably the best representation of the ship out of all of them. The proportions are perfect, the detail is perfect, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but the the detail is just on another level. However, there is still one Midi-Scale set that I think is better. So coming in at the number 1 spot, I have 75356 Executor Super Star Destroyer from 2023. And you know, I say I think this one is better than the Falcon, but to be honest, these are interchangeable for the number 1 and number 2 spot. I mean, I'd personally be happy with this being at number 1 or with the Falcon being at number 1. But the reason I chose this one is just because I think it's a cooler ship. I mean, yeah, I'm just being biased because it's a Star Destroyer. Despite it being on the smaller end, it's actually a pretty menacing and aggressive looking display piece, and I just simply love how it looks. The greebling is amazing, the shaping is amazing, and then the 2 miniature Star Destroyers that hang off the side that are to scale with it are just the cherry on top. So I mean, again, I would be happy with this or the Falcon being at number 1. However, I chose this because I'm just being biased towards Star Destroyers. Anyways though guys, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about my list down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.